Death threats have been sent to Nolan's family as well as the families of Nolan's friends. Now, a man has been arrested in connection with one of those threats.
There will be a package coming to your guy's office in the next few days. It's gonna blow you away when you see it. That message went to a sitting judge. It got worse from there. Blood. So much blood everywhere. Hard to clean. Then a countdown. Once that package is opened, the timer will start. And then you have maybe 10 seconds or less to ask God for forgiveness. That threat just led to a federal arrest. And it's only one of 4 things that broke in the Nolan Wells case in the last 72 hours. A mystery witness has finally spoken. Not directly, but through her sister, and her account contradicts what his friends told police. An independent autopsy just delivered its verdict, and it's not the answer anyone was hoping for. And the reward for information has grown past 6 figures. 4 developments, 1 case, every fact confirmed. Here's what actually happened. 3 p.m., July 4th. That's the last confirmed moment anyone saw Nolan Wells alive. 4:31 p.m., that's when the boat left Horn Island without him. 91 minutes sit between those 2 timestamps. That gap is the entire case. Everything else that's happened since, the autopsy, the threats, the arrest, all of it orbits around what actually took place inside that window. Here's what's new tonight. The young woman Nolan was speaking with in those final confirmed minutes finally has a name. Katie McCormack, 19 years old. For weeks, she existed in this case only as a detail. A girl Nolan met on the beach, unnamed, unconfirmed, mentioned only through friends and secondhand accounts. That's no longer true. The Daily Mail identified her directly, and for the first time, this case has an actual name attached to the person Nolan was with right before he vanished from view. You already know the mechanical side of what happened next, at least in outline. The boat's bilge pump failed. Real-time dispatch audio recorded hours before anyone on Earth knew Nolan wouldn't be coming home confirms the vessel was taking on water and needed a tow back toward the mainland. That part isn't in dispute. It's not a memory. Not a secondhand account, not something anyone could have shaped after the fact. It's the one piece of evidence from that entire afternoon that exists completely outside of anyone's recollection. A recording made in real time before any of this became a story. But a functioning emergency on a boat doesn't explain what happened to Nolan specifically. It explains why the boat needed to leave. It says absolutely nothing about why he wasn't on it when it did. That's the actual gap this case lives inside. Not the mechanical failure, that part is settled. Not the boat's return, that's on GPS record too. It's what happened to one specific person. In the 91 minutes between the last time anyone confirmed seeing him and the moment his friends pulled away from that island without him. 2 separate accounts exist about what happened inside that window. One comes from the friends who left. One comes from the girl he was talking to when they did. For weeks, only one of those accounts had actually been heard. Tonight, that changes. According to the Daily Mail, Katie McCormack is 19, a student from a town just east of Ocean Springs, the same area Nolan called home. Not a stranger passing through, someone from the same stretch of coast, at the same holiday gathering, on the same afternoon everything went wrong. She hasn't spoken publicly, not one interview, not one statement, not one post, but someone close to her just did, and what she said changes the shape of this case. Gracie McCormack, Katie's sister, gave the Daily Mail an on-record account of what Katie actually believed that afternoon. According to Gracie, Katie had a conversation with Nolan and assumed he was getting ready to board the boat he'd arrived on, the same boat his friends were about to leave in. Her exact words, Katie had a conversation and assumed that Nolan was getting ready to get on the boat he came out on. She went further. Katie assumed the friends telling him to get on the boat wouldn't have left him. Sit with that for a second, because it's the opposite of what you've heard so far. Warren Hudson, one of the friends on that boat, has said publicly in a lengthy interview that the group asked Nolan about leaving, and that Nolan made the decision to stay behind with the girl he'd met, planning to catch a different ride back to the mainland later. That's been the accepted version of this story for weeks, repeated across nearly every article written about that afternoon. Katie's sister just contradicted it directly. Not a vague impression, not a maybe, a specific claim. Katie believed Nolan intended to get back on that boat, and believed his own friends wouldn't leave the island without him. 2 people cannot both be right about this. Ben Crump put it as plainly as it can be put. She's saying he went to get on the boat. They're saying he didn't get on the boat. Somebody must not be telling the truth. A few things need to stay precise here, because this detail is easy to overstate. This isn't Katie's own words, spoken directly. It's her sister, relaying a private conversation between two sisters, now made public. Katie herself hasn't confirmed, denied, or elaborated on any of it in her own voice. And nothing about this account accuses her of anything. According to her sister, the McCormack family has fully cooperated with both investigators and Nolan's own family throughout this process. No one, not the sheriff's office, not Crump, not Nolan's parents, has suggested Katie did anything wrong. What it does mean is something this case has been circling for weeks, now stated as clearly as it's ever been stated. One of the two accounts about why Nolan Wells didn't get on that boat is false, and right now, with only secondhand statements on both sides, nobody outside of that beach on July 4th can tell you which one it is. Dr. Roger Mitchell Jr. isn't a random hire. He's a board-certified forensic pathologist, the former chief medical examiner for Washington, D.C. He currently leads the National Medical Association, the oldest and largest organization of Black physicians in the country. When Nolan's family wanted a second opinion, one with zero ties to Mississippi law enforcement, they went to one of the most credentialed people in America to get it. The exam wasn't cheap, and it wasn't paid for by the state. Former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick covered it through an initiative called Know Your Rights Camp, a program that has funded independent autopsies before, specifically in cases involving Black Americans who died under disputed circumstances. This wasn't the first time Kaepernick's organization stepped into a case like this. It was, by design, exactly the kind of case it exists for. Mitchell conducted the exam on July 10th. That's 6 days after Nolan disappeared, 4 days after his body was actually recovered from the water near Horn Island. The results didn't reach the public until July 22nd at the NOPS National Convention in Chicago, read aloud by Ben Crump in front of a room full of cameras and reporters. Here's the finding in the exact terms that matter. Cause of death, undetermined. Manner of death, undetermined. And explicitly, foul play cannot be ruled out. It's worth pausing on what those two terms actually mean, because they're not interchangeable. Cause of death is the specific medical reason someone died. Drowning, injury, cardiac event. Manner of death is the broader legal classification. Accident, homicide, suicide, natural causes, or undetermined. Mitchell's report left both of those boxes empty. Not because he found nothing, because what he found wasn't enough to fill either one in with confidence. That's not a conclusion. It's an admission that this case is still wide open, coming from the one pathologist this family trusted, specifically because he had no connection to anyone else involved. Now, here's why his findings were this limited, and this part matters. By July 10th, Nolan's body had already gone through significant decomposition. It had also already been through the state's own autopsy first, organs removed and dissected, standard procedure for any first examination, but it meant Mitchell wasn't looking at an untouched body. He was looking at what was left after someone else had already gone through it. And there's something more specific than decomposition working against him. Mitchell never received Nolan's airway, never received his lungs, never received key portions of his neck and throat. Those were retained by the state's original examiner. No public explanation has been given for why. Think about what that actually costs an independent exam. No lungs means no way to check for water in the airway, one of the most basic physical indicators of drowning. No stomach contents means no way to establish anything about Nolan's final hours. No neck tissue means Mitchell can't rule out one specific, serious possibility: injury to the neck as a contributing factor in his death. He said so directly in his own report. He cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor to Nolan's death because the one piece of tissue that could actually answer that question was never placed in his hands. Mitchell didn't stop at what he couldn't determine. His report reportedly listed 7 separate outstanding questions that still need answers. Among them, what actually led Nolan to enter the water in the first place, whether there was water in his airway at all, and whether he had any bleeding in the brain. 7 open questions from the person who conducted the second independent look at his body. There's one more physical detail from this exam that hasn't been explained. Mitchell found red discoloration in the soft tissue at the back of Nolan's head. Not a fracture, not a laceration, just discoloration with no confirmed cause and no clear answer yet for what caused it. Crump summed up where this leaves the family in 6 words. We have more questions than answers. And the state's own autopsy, the one conducted first, the one that took Nolan's lungs and airway and neck tissue before Mitchell ever saw the body? Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lind has confirmed that report still isn't finished. It's sealed, and under current plans, it will stay sealed until a grand jury reviews it first, before the public and before Nolan's own parents ever see what it says. 2 autopsies, 1 body, 7 unanswered questions. And still, right now, 0 confirmed answers for how Nolan Wells actually died. Jackson County Chancery Judge Ashlee Cole is Warren Hudson's stepmother. Her stepson was one of the friends on that boat with Nolan on July 4th. That single connection, a family tie to someone who was simply present that day, is what made her a target. Cole said publicly that she and her family began receiving death threats. Not vague hostility, specific, escalating messages sent directly to her. Here's what was actually sent. In the sender's own words, now part of a federal court record. There will be a package coming to your guy's office in the next few days. It's gonna blow you away when you see it. Lol. Probably best to have the boys there to see as well. It got worse from there. Blood. So much blood everywhere. Hard to clean, especially from a boat. But yours will be quick, I promise. I got all your info. Not even the FBI can stop this. Then a countdown. Once that package is opened, the timer will start. And then you have maybe 10 seconds or less to ask God for forgiveness. Other messages referenced images of her children. That's not online anger, that's a targeted threat against a sitting judge and her family, over a connection to a case she isn't even personally involved in beyond her stepson's presence on a boat. In July 30th, it led somewhere. Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumarche, 27, of Sacramento, California, was arrested and charged federally with interstate transmission of a threatening communication. In plain terms, that's the charge for sending a genuine threat across state lines, and it's a real federal crime, not a slap on the wrist. It carries a maximum of 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. Investigators didn't get lucky. The FBI traced the email address tied to the Facebook account behind the threats, the account using the handle yayayay962, and followed it directly to Dumarche. There's context here that makes this arrest even more serious. Dumarche isn't a first-time offender with a clean record. He has a prior conviction as a registered sex offender, stemming from a 2019 case in California involving a minor. That's a matter of public record, not speculation, and it's worth knowing exactly who was sending threats detailed enough to include a countdown and images of a judge's children. Cole isn't the only person connected to this case who said she's been targeted. Nolan's own mother, Christine Wansley Wells, has reported facing hostile phone calls, harassing mail, and a coordinated wave of negative reviews aimed at her professional page. At a press conference, Ben Crump addressed the people responsible directly, calling them, in his words, sick, evil people. In the middle of all of it, there's also this. Dr. Benjamin Hudson, Cole's husband and Warren's father, a man whose own family has now received death threats over this case, has separately offered a $50,000 reward of his own for information that helps solve what actually happened to Nolan. A family being threatened over their son's presence on a boat, and that same family still putting money on the table for the truth. That's where this stands right now. The number has changed since we last covered this case. What started as $100,000, pledged by Al Sharpton and Tyler Perry at Nolan's funeral, has grown. Former NFL wide receiver Terrell Owens has joined the pledge, pushing the total reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction up to $125,000. That's not the only money on the table right now. Remember Dr. Benjamin Hudson, Judge Ashlee Cole's husband, Warren Hudson's father, a man whose own family has been the target of death threats over this case. He's put up a separate $50,000 of his own, entirely apart from the Sharpton, Perry, and Owens pledge. Add it together, and there's now exactly $175,000 publicly offered to anyone willing to come forward with real information. Two things are true about that number at once. It's a serious incentive, large enough to matter to almost anyone holding back what they know. And it's coming, in part, from a family that's already been threatened for their connection to this case, choosing to put more of themselves on the line rather than pull back. The money keeps growing. The answers so far haven't. 4 developments in 1 week. Here's what's actually solid, what's still moving, and what nobody can answer yet. What's confirmed doesn't depend on anyone's memory. GPS data has documented that boat's exact movements on July 4th, down to the minute. Real-time dispatch audio confirms the bilge pump failure and the call for a tow, recorded hours before anyone knew Nolan was missing. Dental records confirmed his identity on July 7th. A board-certified independent pathologist has gone on record. Cause and manner of death, undetermined, foul play not ruled out, and a man has actually been arrested, charged federally for threatening a judge connected to this case. The state's own autopsy, the one that actually holds Nolan's lungs and airway, stays sealed until a grand jury reviews it. Toxicology is still outstanding. The joint phone inspection hasn't happened. The grand jury hasn't even convened. And what's genuinely unresolved sits underneath all of it. Nobody has explained what happened inside that 91-minute window. Katie's account and the friend's account still directly contradict each other. The voice on that disputed video still hasn't been confirmed either way. And the most basic question in this entire case, how Nolan Wells actually died, still has no official answer. A witness contradicting the official story. An autopsy raising more questions than it answered. A threat that ended in a federal arrest. A reward that keeps growing because the truth hasn't surfaced yet. So here's what we want to know from you. Katie says he was heading back to the boat. His friends say he chose to stay. Only one of them can be right. Which account do you actually believe and why? Drop it in the comments because this case needs more people paying attention to the details, not less. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and be here the moment it's real.